are woohoo, we are live streaming. Like finally made it happen here.
It's
Just
been
took a
only months.
it just it took a little while, and
Just a
maybe
while.
all those that were waiting and really being patient about waiting, right? They'll come, they'll join us and go, wow, that's great. I'm so glad I've been waiting for this show,
Yeah. We'll make it all worth it.
Well, that's just it. And I even look here and I think, okay, so where's the chat? Like there's private chat and then there's the open chat. So I've got some newbie stuff going on here.
It's set on my screen. It says messages from the audience will display here on the right.
Oh, good. Okay, so you can see where
Sandra says hi. Hi.
Oh, perfect. Oh, wait, there it goes. Now I've got the thing. Yay, Sandra Lee. Thank you for joining us. It's brave souls here that are going to suffer through it with us as we figure out like, oh, should we have done that or should we do this, right? But it's no amount of suffering if you compare it to what our topic is today. Can you imagine being part of the beauty pageants? I just can't even. I mean, so we've got a whole lot to talk about there because everything that we're doing, Sandra Lee, your previous messages disappeared because we had to move to restream instead of live through YouTube because YouTube wouldn't allow me to have RV here. We haven't even introduced, so we got to get that started to introduce her as the co-host and connect our stuff and put you in as the moderator. I couldn't make any of that happen. So
we're working on it. We're going to get there.
We're there. And Sandra Lee, I sent you a link where you can come into the studio and we can have you there and should be able to moderate. Like there's some user challenges, going on here, but that's okay. Maybe let's just get started now that we've got some things in that going, and we will just really get going. And they may not usually disappear, Sandy, but the thing is, because we're not in YouTube anymore, we're in Restream video. So this is where we are. I've emailed it to you. So if you can jump in, otherwise Sandy's doing a great job here in the chat. So let's get started. Let's start with my co-host here first, because she's a new face. We've had a couple of episodes and I was practicing. Still, clearly I need more practice, but RV, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So I'm Renee, and V is the name I go by because I have a long Greek last name and it's just easier. So if I was in a pageant, it would be Renee V too. But I am a speech therapist by trade, but mindset mentor and coach by passion. And I love working with people like Laurelyn that we just connected immediately when we met. And knew that we had common ground in wanting to make a good impact with the youth and their parents and anyone else who's willing to accept our help.
That's right. And she's got all kinds of goodies with respect to her toolkit, things on mindset coaching, because a lot of it is just mindset. It's how you feel and how you react to whatever the situation is. And that's such a big part of it. It's not. So we're going to get into some of that. So we'll be able to really lean on her and her expertise there. And for those of you that may be new and seeing me here, well, then what you're going to see is me, Laurelyn, and I go by Dr. LL here. I'm not
LL Cool J.
Well, LL Cool J, exactly, right? So more of that kind of Dr. LL versus not a psychologist, not a medical doctor. I'm the PhD science kind of, doctor, that kind. And so, that's who I am. And we're going to dig in. And so my background, lots and lots of experience in leadership and talking to people and helping mentor folks and deal with challenging situations. And we've got a platform. We've built all kinds of really cool stuff with Sandy Wandy. We've got here in the chat. She's been a big part of this, helping us grow this. So that's been wonderful. And we've created all these little bite-sized lessons and some longer lessons on how people can navigate toxic workplaces, toxic bosses, toxic coworkers. We can dig into soft skills, leadership, communication, all that sort of stuff. So that's who we are. And like, enough of that. That's kind of the boring part. So let's just dig into the topic of the show, beauty pageants. And I meant to bring my tiara. I really should have worn my tiara.
I have one as well. I was the prom queen.
Were
I
you?
was.
Wow.
Yeah. 1996.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Look at you, girl. That's amazing. That's really, really cool. I
Yeah, it
mean,
was fun.
and did they have like a prom king too? And or did you?
Yeah, it was my friend Sal, and I it was so fun because I knew my dress was bomb. I was like, this dress is, I'm killing it in this dress. So I knew, I had a feeling I was going to be recognized.
Well, see, that's good. And it's just that's a whole part of it too, is when you feel fabulous. But can you imagine that feeling where every girl, if it's Miss Teen USA or if it's Miss USA, whatever, every girl or woman that's there is thinking, yeah, I'm totally decked. I'm ready. I've spent gobs of money, X number of thousands of dollars
Mhm.
on my pageant dress, and probably equal amounts of money for their bikinis, which I still I don't get the swimsuit thing, but
Ooh.
yeah,
And
but
I don't think it's necessary.
no, well, pageants I don't think are necessary in
Yeah,
this,
agreed. Let's just go there with that.
right? Do we need to be pitted against each other? I mean, isn't that what social media is for, right? Where everybody's bombing everybody else and putting
Yeah.
crap in their social feeds and just doing awful things. I mean, we don't need pageants and to be on display in front of everybody walking around
Mhm.
on stage.
We don't. I think what's important about that type of platform is that those ladies, if they have a mission of some sort, that they're going to spend the time to, you know, provide impact in one way, shape, or form, and use that as their like leverage to really make a difference. That's how I see. I mean, because if you think about it, it's almost like any of these places that we've spoken,
Yeah.
right? Like you're in front of everybody, you have a message to give, to provide. I mean, they're not checking out our bikinis or anything, but it's all kind of similar in that sense, where you are in the spotlight because you have a big message and mission that you want to share.
Well, and that's the thing, like using it as a stage. But then I don't know. I could go when we talk about sort of toxic and toxic workplaces. We'll come back
Mhm.
to the pageant thing. When I think about that, you look at the Academy Awards, you look at all of these sorts of global stages, the Met
Mhm.
Gala. Is it really their platform, the celebrity, whomever it is, to use that stage and to put their agenda forward, even if it is in the
Mhm.
interest of a noble cause, like stop global warming or
Right.
whatever they're going to say, or
Mhm.
is it really their stage to use?
So not at those type of places, I don't think. I mean, because that's a whole different game. I mean, that for them is recognition on, well, the Met Gala. I don't even understand. I mean, it's interesting, but I still don't understand it. Like the outfits, it's cool to look at, but I'm almost wondering like why, why. But like as far as like the Oscars go, that's a recognition of your work. So it's different, I think, than it would be a speaker or a pageant person that wants to use that kind of to leverage, an important message to the world. Because as you know, it's very difficult when you're in this space to get your voice out there.
Right.
Very difficult. It is a long process of perseverance and actually mindset, because
Yeah.
that's the reason why most people don't do this, is because it's hard,
Yeah.
very hard.
It is, even like I said, like the pursuit of pageantry, and then tying it all back into that whole workplace. Is it because the prize is so big that people are willing to, I don't know, disregard some of the toxic bombs that they're having
I
to
think
face,
so.
right?
I think so. And I also think, I mean, same with the actors, if you hear any of their stories, like I don't know if you ever heard of Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. Those are like 80s actors who, and their older age, were talking about how toxic it was to be in that environment, and how they were abused and taken advantage of at a very young age. But they stuck with it because they wanted to be famous. They loved acting, that kind of
Right.
stuff. So they kind of put, well, they were young, but I think they probably didn't want to cause waves because they didn't want to lose their job. So that's disturbing.
Right. I mean, and we hear about so many examples of it, right? And we're just starting to get a taste of it now with the Miss Universe and that whole
Mhm.
work environment. There are people that are accusing the CEO, right, Miss USA, Layla Rose, and saying that she is the ultimate toxic boss, where she won't hear any of the feedback that's coming in, where people are complaining about sexual harassment, they're complaining about bullying, they're complaining about all these kinds of things.
Mhm.
But apparently, right? I mean, we don't know. We're not on the inside there. We're just commenting as little flies, not even on the wall, but
Yeah.
in another office and saying, yeah, we've seen toxic behaviors like that. Those are pretty standard, right? That
Yeah, I
the
think it's
definition.
everywhere. It just gets amplified when it's someone like that who is so known. I mean, I don't know who she is, but just the whole franchise is
Oh, yeah.
huge, So when you think about that, like what we're trying to promote is beauty and brains, really, in essence, is people who are trying to do big things in the world, and they're also happen to be gorgeous. But I think it's upsetting to hear that somebody who's that high up on the chain is so fixed in mindset where they won't take feedback, constructively.
Well, and the thing is, and not hear it at all. I mean, part of the definitions
Mhm.
of toxic workplaces, or the opposite, right? Like a good workplace is that you create psychological safety. And so these young girls are going to be going through all kinds of things. Many of them are
Mhm.
away from home. It's not just, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that it's not just a pageant. It's not what you see on stage. There's so much preparation that leads up to what we see on TV. I mean,
Mhm.
weeks and weeks and months of production efforts and all of that.
Mhm.
Then there's the whole thing. Once you are a winner or runner up, you become ensconced in the
Mhm.
whole workplace culture because it is a business.
Yep.
Miss Universe is a business. They have offices, they have coworkers, they have bosses, they have supervisors, they have
Mhm.
rules, they have employee handbooks. It's a job
Yes.
in, like, Miss Teen USA, Miss Universe, whatever, whatever the
Mhm.
title is. It's a job.
Totally.
And I think that this is finally starting to come to light because we've seen some really, really brave, if not ballsy moves in the last couple of weeks. So Miss USA, Noelia Voigt, came forward and she resigned. She said she's having mental health challenges. She feels that the pressure of the job, because it is a job,
Mhm.
is just too much for her, and she wanted to back out and all of this kind of thing. And she was saying she really couldn't say more than that, wasn't in a position to elaborate further, but just wanted some distance from the organization. Interesting. Resigns.
Mhm.
Not a week later, Miss Teen USA, Uma Sofia Sirivastava, and I had to write that down to make sure I pronounced it properly. She resigned. She
Yeah.
said that her values were not aligned with the values of the Miss Universe organization. Now, let's talk about that for a second,
Mhm.
because don't you kind of know what those are before
So
you enter into the
so
pageant?
that's what I was gonna say. That's pretty ironic that because I feel like they know what they're getting into. If you don't feel aligned with something to begin with, you wouldn't want to be a part of it.
Right. And then,
So
and
did
was it
something change?
right? And was it code? Because they're saying that the lines apparently, like all these people on the internet that have nothing better to do because they have this, I don't know, unlimited amounts of time, I
Yeah.
guess. And they went through and they coded it, and they said all of her sentences coded to "I'm being silenced."
Is
So
that like the Beatles record when you play it backwards?
it's all that weird stuff, right? Satan, six foot
That
six,
is
right? Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, so that's, again, nobody's confirming, denying any of that, right? And then, there's the trolls and the fake news, so I don't even know what to believe out there on social media and all of the rest of that too. Um, and oh, look at this, Awakened by the Looking Glass's reflection. That's a beautiful freaking name. Really,
Yeah.
really brilliant on that. And thank you so much for sharing on the lifeboat,
Thank
and that your
you.
ears are working in the background. Woohoo! Much appreciated.
Thank
That's really,
you. That was
really awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, that's huge. Um, let's put a little thing. I wish I knew how to do little hearts and things. I
We
can't
wish
believe
we
I
knew how
gotta-
to do a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm learning. Like
We
I wish
are.
I
We're
had
learning.
an instructor to say, yeah, this is how you do it. But let's come back to that. So, okay. So we can kind of break it down, right? We can interpret, everybody's allowed their interpretation. And
Mhm.
so, this gal, Miss Teen USA, that ultimately resigned, Uma Sophia, maybe she was just taking the high road. My values aren't aligned, rather than saying, this place is toxic. No one listens to me. The girls are at each other's throats. And then here's what's really interesting. The runner-up gal for Miss Teen USA, Stephanie Skinner, was then offered the crown because the pageant winner, right, Uma Sofia Surya-Stava of Miss Teen USA, said, no, pass, I'm out. So they said, oh, Stephanie, you're the runner-up. Congratulations. Let's have the crowning ceremony and crown you as Miss Teen USA. And she said, no, thanks.
Mhm.
So that's interesting. And then here, because the plot just keeps twisting, right?
Mhm.
That the third runner-up, this one's from Pennsylvania, this gal, Maggie Ross, has had no comment in almost 1 week if she is going to accept the crown or decline.
Has this ever happened?
No.
No. Because I was
No.
trying to think, because then what if she declines? Then what happens?
I don't know. There's probably nothing even written in the rule book. I mean, if you're
Yeah,
top
because it's like
three
unheard of.
people, they all say, no, I pass. I mean,
I would take the crown.
Renee said practice as a prom queen. Do you have to wave too?
I'll take it. I'll take it. I will, because I know how to deal with toxic people.
How do you deal with toxic people? On cue.
Oh, yes. So what you need to do is do the work on yourself, because once you do the work on yourself and you make the decision, and it is a decision to really understand your worth, you understand yourself, you love yourself, your self-worth is through the roof, like I feel like I've built over time.
Right.
And I feel like following in the tracks of something that's not in alignment is a problem. But I certainly know that if you are in that position as Miss America, Miss whatever universe, you have leverage to say, these are my demands because I'm the winner of this. I'm representing this whole franchise.
Right.
So I think it's about negotiating that type of stuff. So the franchise is not experiencing what they're experiencing right now because they won't want this attention. This is not good attention for them.
No. And they say, no press, no press is bad press. I think so. If you've got people dropping like flies out of the contests, I really think that the whole thing around pageantry is in peril.
Yeah. Shut it down.
Yeah, I agree. It's a concept that's seen its time.
It's archaic. I mean, it's just because it's a tradition doesn't mean it has to continue. It could be something that we look back on and say, oh, that was fun. Let's move on to real world. Let's put entrepreneurs on the stage and have them talk about what they're doing in the world.
Right. And Awakened by the Looking Glass's reflection, has been commenting here too and saying, say goodbye to the old ways. The old world is passing away. True. I mean, so many traditions have been broken, right? Paradigms upended. And Sandy had a really interesting idea that nobody wants the big job. And maybe that's it. Like, people are comfortable. I learned this at one of the companies that I was at, CEO, big tech company, huge Silicon Valley. And he came forward and he used to always say this. He said, it's not always good to be Coke. Sometimes it's better to be Pepsi, because Coke paves the way through all the nonsense, all the building the market, evangelizing it, this, that. And you just come in there and everybody knows what soda is by the time you get to the market, and you just do your thing.
Yep. You just follow the coattails and it just works. It's almost like they do the job for you.
That's right. Right. They paved the way, and that's what it needs. And I think that that's what is maybe happening. Again, we're just interpreting, right? We don't know. We're not hooked into the pageant. We're not pageant moms or, any of that stuff. But even that the third gal is declining, talk about some of that peer pressure. So she's probably aware now of the toxic workplace claims. She's probably seen some things, but then again, your whole social credibility. Can you go in front of X number of millions of people on social media, your own followings, and say, yeah, I don't care about the toxic stuff. It's not really that toxic. It's fine, and do that, right? That's a moral dilemma.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But I think, one person's experience might not be everyone's experience. So if that person, the third person, let's say, I don't know her name, but she's thinking about accepting the crown.
Yeah.
It's possible that she's not debating if she wants or not, but debating if her experience is the same as the other two, because she might have a completely different experience, and she may desire to have that crown based on her experience. So it is a dilemma, but I think it's something that if you're strong within who you are and what you are, if that is something that you want to do, then that's what you do. It's your life. You make the decision to do it, and that's it.
That's right. And it's and then I'm just going to grab look, the little puppy here. She's come to say hello. You come to say hello. Oh my goodness, she's so big and twisting. Oh, she's come to say hello. She should be in a beauty pageant. There she is. This
oh
is
my gosh! Hi. Get out. Are you kidding? Do you call her? Yeah. Is that her name?
The Marvelous
That
Miss
was
Maisie.
One of my favorite. Oh, Miss Maisel. This show, I love that. Yeah, I know, yeah. But the Marvelous
Miss Maisel was the show, but yeah, it's a spoof on it.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah,
it was so good.
And we've gotten other comments here. Like nobody grows up, right, saying like, I want to be incarcerated when I get older. I want to be in a toxic relationship. I want to work for a toxic work life. Like no one does any of that. Nope. But that's the whole thing. There are so many girls from a young age that they do want to go into Miss America or whatever else, right? Mm-hmm. Like they look at it, they go to the pageants, they learn, they train, and I've seen it, and wow, it's tough. Like my niece, when she was 6, 7, 8 years old, she was in all of these dance contests. Now they weren't beauty pageants. Now, mind you, as the biased auntie, I'm going to say she, had she entered any of the beauty pageants, she would have won.
She would have won. She would have won. Yes.
Hands down. But she was in these dance contests, and my sister pulled her out of them because by the first year it was cute. They had like little bunny fur outfits and little onesies and things like that. And it was cute. She was whatever, 6, 7 years old. But in the next year, they just got all like, it was just slutwear. I mean, the little outfits were like this with like nothing to them. And they're all so hypersexualized with the makeup and painted to look so much more mature. It was sick. And so you really have to, I guess, dig in, and you start that young age, that's part of the process. All of the things you have to do, getting ready as for a pageant or a pageant girl following that path isn't like the rest of us probably get ready, which is, kind of shower, maybe put some makeup on, brush our hair, do something, call it done. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I think though, it's powerful for these young girls to be like your niece you're talking about. I mean, it's good for their image and their confidence to be a part of something like that, because they do get to be on stage. They do get to do things like put on makeup and do their hair in a fun way that they maybe have never done before. And I know like my daughter loves, like if ever we have an event, she'll ask me to put on a little bit of blush, like something that just makes her feel good. So, and I think my daughter is in dance right now, and I've seen the girls, the older girls, they are so good at what they do. They just crush it. They love dancing. And the best part is that they are not all this big.
Yes, that's been changing. Oh my God.
Yes.
I love it when girls eat.
Yes. But they own it. And I love that about that whole thing, is that they are confident in their bodies. And there's ones that are this big and there's ones that are this big, but they're all owning it. They're all dancing, and you can tell they are in their element and they feel so good about themselves. And I think that's a really important point to having our kids in some kind of dance or, something where they have to like look different or dress different or whatever, when they're put on the stage and people are watching. And I think it's pretty powerful for them to be able
Oh,
to
it
do
is. I
that.
saw the transformation of my niece. I mean, she was no shrinking violet from the beginning, but I
Yeah.
mean, imagine that, right? But actually, I was very shy as a child. Just putting that out there, like extremely shy, like in a corner and like
Oh,
funny and all that. But what was really good about it, and it clearly the Miss, well, not clearly, but it seems that the Miss USA, Miss Universe, and all of that sort of group doesn't have that sense of team. My niece cried when my sister pulled her out of dance because the dance troupe, they were so unified
yes.
goal to win. And you talked
Mhm.
about the older girls. The older girls were mentoring and helping all the young girls. No, 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 do this with your costume. This will help you.
Mhm.
No, no, do this. Relax. Don't worry. You got this. You got this. And like cheering them on. And
Yes.
so it was a sense of team.
Yeah.
Right. And then Sandy Wandy's made this point, it's never worth compromising yourself for a job. So if these gals, these winners of the pageants are in there and they're being told, now you have to do things differently, you have to do this. And apparently the story goes with the Miss USA, Noelia Voigt, the first one that resigned. She said she was left in a vehicle with a man who was driving it after the win and stuff, that she had to do some event, something. I don't know the full story.
Mhm.
And she was left in the vehicle with him, and he made all kinds of, inappropriate and offside comments about her and her body and this and that. And when she reported them to the Miss Universe, the CEO, she was told, oh, apparently, get used to it, right? You're going to be objectified. That's your body. That's part of what the deal is. I can't control, what people say.
Yikes.
Right. And it should be, what kind of thing you can do.
I can't help but to think that what is happening right now, just with this pageant situation, it's happening in every workplace.
Right. That's just it. Bring it back. Right.
This is harassment goes on all the time. Being treated unfairly happens in every business. So I think if we liken it to a, a corporate job, even the similar things happen. And, a lot of people don't resign because they need the job, they need the money, they need the income, and they won't, they compromise themselves because they obviously don't think that there's anything better out there for them. And that's just not true. But they get in their comfort zone and this is what they're used to. And sometimes it becomes, I remember I was involved with a very toxic workplace when I first started working. I didn't realize how toxic it was until another therapist came in and said, Renee, you need to get out of there. It is so toxic in there. I had no idea because I was so in it, right? So like when you can't see, the picture when you're in the frame. So once you're out and you're looking at it, then you can have a different perspective on it and realize that you are involved with drama and toxicity everywhere you look, but you're just used to it.
Well, and that's just it. And like, should you ever get used to it? And then, some comments that we were talking about at the start of the show, that, okay, so these gals said, oh, our values weren't aligned or this or that. And we were saying, well, what did they expect? But it's the same thing. When you go into a workplace,
Mhm.
done all the interviews, this and that, everybody's on their best behavior, right? It's fabulous.
Yeah.
You get there and you're like, wait a minute, I sold a bill of goods, right? This isn't how it is.
Not what I signed up for. Yep.
Right. And then all the little stuff happens. And like to your point you just made now, how do you get out? And that's why I look at these gals that resigned, Teen USA and Miss USA, big cojones, because
yeah.
you got to do it in front of the world. And then what signal are you sending to future employers? You're going to renege on a big contract.
Future pageant girls, it doesn't seem like it's going away, even though I think it should. What is that? It would be interesting to see what happens now, in the future with this pageant, circuit that people go on, if it's going to affect that or not.
Right. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, like I can go on so many tangents in that here but that's one of the things that really, really bothers me about all of this is that with the level of toxicity, it's women that aren't helping other women.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. Can you imagine how catty it is
Ugh.
as they're all getting dressed in a shared room into their little like swimsuits and they haven't eaten for 3 weeks, so everybody's
Yeah.
hungry,
Yeah.
right? They're trying to be super thin.
I don't roll like that. Like for me, it's we're all in it together. I hope, for me, it's just not worth the competition is not worth it. Like being a part of it would be worth it because it's an experience, but like to be kind of, giving sneer eyes to someone else, like that just doesn't that's not an environment I would ever want to be in,
Yeah,
you know?
no, and I don't know. And then it's also where I think that there is just I don't even know. I'm trying to struggle to find the words where it's an insatiable appetite to be noticed, right? Me, 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 me. Look at me on social media. I want the likes. I want the likes. I want the
Mhm.
follows. I want this. Like even here, I'd be lying if I said like, oh yeah, I'm happy with just a couple of people coming in. No, I really want us to grow our channel and have lots of
Mhm.
people in that we can help and hear from their perspectives and what they did to help others. But
Mhm.
it's just with respect to the pageants, you talk about a crown, like you literally get a crown. So you're a queen bee. It's got to be pretty intoxicating to have that chase. And you'd probably look sideways at a lot of the crap because you're thinking, right? Mhm.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on what your morals and your ethics are and what your goal is. If your goal is to have all the attention and you might put up with that stuff because you just care about being on that stage and having people look at you. But there's other ways to do that. I mean, look at us. We met while we were
Right.
speaking in New York. So that's attention on you. So there's other ways to spread a message or get attention. And you could do something like this.
Right.
You could do anything nowadays with the phone, everything. You can go live every day. You'll get as much attention as you like.
Right.
So I think there are other ways to get that attention without being in a pageant.
And so, and it's also, I think, a pretty limited experience. How many
Mhm.
people, I don't even know what the percentage is, of gals that compete in pageants. And when I think of pageants, I always think of like poor John Benet Ramsey.
Yeah. Oh God.
And like for me, I just like even now it still elicits a visceral reaction, not because only the poor gal was just, suffered horribly in her last moments, but because of how she was paraded and presented. And it's just
Mhm.
ew,
Yeah.
ew.
I know. And you've seen like Dance Moms and those shows
Yeah,
where the girls literally have like mouthpieces for their teeth, like veneer looking
yeah,
teeth, because their teeth are falling out everywhere because they're in first grade, and what they do to make them look older than what they are. And, that to me is against it doesn't serve a point. Like we want to see the little girl with with the teeth out. Like that's where she's at, and that's the natural part. That's yes. Yes. That that is, I think about my daughter when she was losing her teeth and she got braces. Like that is a part of youth. That is everyone goes through. I mean, they might all get braces, but your teeth come out and you're still beautiful. It's a part of life. It's what we go through. But to have these little tots with these like, you know, teeth and their hairs and ring, and it's crazy. It's
falsies,
crazy to me.
falsies, and the
Yeah, like
like, like you're six.
yeah. And sometimes, and I'm not generalizing, but I kind of am. Sometimes the moms, it's like them living their dream through their kid.
Right. And you hear about that a lot. And then that brings up a whole other level of toxicity. I mean, we see so many channels and groups about my mother's a narcissist, right? And she did
Mhm.
this and she wanted these things for me and at the expense of the emotional growth and well-being of the child. And
Mhm.
the children get pushed along. We hear about this all the time. And not even necessarily with respect to like, oh, a toxic mother or that, but it's the father who's saying, you must follow in my footsteps. I've been whatever, an
Mhm.
engineer, a doctor, I run our store, I do whatever. And I'm a farmer, you will be too, right? And all
Mhm.
that pressure. that's a whole different thing. I mean, we'll cover that.
Oh, we could do a whole 3 sessions on that because, I think we're of age where that was what was going on. I'm hoping now it changes because, when your kid is living your dream and not their own, it just breeds unhappiness and confusion. So it's unless your kid is really showing. I liken it to all these actors or singers who have children who are now getting older and watching their parents do these grandiose things. They're on stages, they're singing, and a lot of them say, I don't want them in this business, right?
Right.
They say, I don't want them to. If they're old enough to make that decision and they want to do it, what am I going to do? But it's their preference that their kids do not follow in their footsteps. It's so interesting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And it's just, I don't know if it's because now we've got so much more wisdom because we've had time to think about things post-COVID, or if it's just because of, with the access that we have to everything online, right? There's just tons and tons of stuff there. But that's just it. With these whole thing in these pageants, the girls and their girls spend the first part of their life trying to look older. And then because they've been indoctrinated in that, suck it in, hold it in, stand tall, diaphragm, all this, then they spend the rest of their lives trying to look younger. Right.
Yeah.
And that's messed up.
Like the rest of us, like from 20 on, we're trying to look younger, right? Or 25, I should say. Because at 20, you still want to look your age, I think.
Yeah. And you look, Awakened Here had some personal experience, and thank you so much for sharing that. And she says that she's the doll here, that her mom paraded her up and dressed her up and paraded her around. And then she was left on her own. That's really, really, really tough. And you do hear about this a lot, just that lack of emotional availability and emotional support. It's so necessary, even as we age, but especially as a young girl when we're trying to figure things out, and to be in a toxic environment where you are completely objectified. And even though you're in the space where it's understood that that's kind of what it's about, it's all the more reason when you think if you'd have a female leader at the top, that she'd be protective of her flock, right? Motherly.
Not push their own agenda, like that's. It seems to me like there's a sensitivity chip that's missing when you're parading someone around and it's not necessarily their wish to do that.
No. And I get it that little kids, they don't have the mental capacity to sort of think for themselves and do critical.
Oh, they do. I think the problem is that we're taught from a very young age that to listen to our parents, and and some of us were lucky to have great parents, but the ones who weren't great, you're still taught you listen to your parents. So because what else do? Those are the people you live with. So when you're young, you have the ability to think, but I think there is just I guess like a respect thing is what is instilled in us from very young. Like mom says no, you don't do it. Mom says yes, you do it. Like mom tells you to do this, you do it. And there's kind of a line there that is kind of gray, because you're like, well, if my parents are doing something or telling me to do something that I don't want to do, that's, something that they wanted me to do. You know what I'm saying? Like not defying them, but not agree. Like if your dad tells you when you're 8 to drink a beer, like you don't want to, but you might do it because your dad told you to do it. Does that make sense?
Right. And then this is the thing. And so when we talk about that and think about, well, how do you navigate? So as a child, Awakened Here has shared, and I believe she's a she. I don't know that to be true, but I believe she's a she. And look at what happened, right? She was just left on her own, didn't have that support. And so you're built up and paraded. And that's the thing, we see this in so many examples out there. You think everything's fabulous on the outside. And that's why social media in itself is so destructive. And even the pageant is so destructive, because there's this illusion of perfection, right? Social media, I always say it's a curated micro slice of our best moments, right? And most of them are freaking filtered and BS anyway, right? Yeah. And then that's what everybody thinks like, oh, that's what it is. But people aren't showing what they're experiencing the other 23 hours and 59 minutes of the
Correct.
day.
Yeah, correct. And some people are, but they're very like they'll be in the hospital bed being like, I just had a heart attack. They want the attention, even though, that at that point, the last thing on your mind is to go on social media. But there are people that feed off of that attention, that attention if they're going through something hard, but it almost is over dramatized to a point where they just, it seems, it appears that they want attention. Like,
well, drama
comments.
dumping is a thing.
Yeah.
Drama dumping. And then, there's, I've seen some chats with different mom groups and saying, well, what do you do if your child is drama dumping? How long do you let it go? And do you let your child respond to somebody who's drama dumping and talking about all this, oh, this was toxic, this happened, whatever, right? That they're saying. You have to let them go on for a little bit and show support. And this is where it's like the boy who cried wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so people are becoming, I guess, so desensitized to all that. It's like, oh, yeah, whatever. Yeah, another abuse victim. Yeah, whatever, next. Yeah, another that. And we're losing our ability to be compassionate and even dial in. And because so many people crave the spotlight, even if it's the negative spotlight,
Right.
Look stuff up. Look how many of these GoFundMe folks are saying, I have cancer. Need to help me shave their heads, their eyebrows. They're going through chemo. And they're just trying to scam people.
Yeah. And then that's what happens that's how people lose their faith in our humanity, is when people do stuff like that. So selfish to even say you have a disease that you don't have or an illness that you don't have. In my opinion, it's karma is going to get you in the butt later for that. And, you will get yours. You're going to get punished in one way, shape, or form. It could be that you have really bad luck the rest of your life, or someone you love actually gets the disease that you claim that you had. It always comes back. I mean, energetically and universally, it will come back in one way, shape, or form. So it's even doing that. I mean, how long can you carry that on, that you have a disease or an illness that you don't have? That's like exhausting. Why would you even want to do that? Why not take all that energy and go start a business?
Right. Well, to that end, I mean, it's a story for another time, but one of my besties, her husband did this. In the end, toward the end of his life, he talked about he had all of these different diseases and this was happening. And he was really looking for sympathy because he was seeking attention.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, he didn't get the attention that he was seeking. But you see it, you say, how long? I mean, I knew him for about 9 years, and he did it and held it up for about 2-3 years.
So he was almost like Munchausen by proxy, or like whatever. Like I don't know what it's called when it's on yourself, that you just say you have all these illnesses, but it's definitely a form of that, where, the attention that you get from being sick it's addicting to them, because they get all this attention and, oh, how can we help you? And, what can we do for you? And, because people are good and they want to help people that are not well. It's just human nature. But when someone abuses it like that, I mean, it's very upsetting.
It's unconscionable to think how that happens. And then what do you do? And then you, as the person who's in the relationship, and this is part of what's so messed up when you're in toxic environments, is that you feel you need to be there, or you have to be there, maybe financially, this, that, whatever, obligated, loyal. I know I stuck around in an abusive marriage for very, very long, and we'll get into that in future episodes. And you have this twisted obligation. And then when you're an empathic person and a caring person, you want to help. So you don't want to abandon them, because then you'll feel guilty that you knew that they needed help, but you weren't there. And it's just really, it's a mind fart. I mean,
you never assume someone's faking an illness. Like, it's just like not a thing. Like, someone says they're sick, you believe them, because who in their right mind wouldn't trust what you're saying is true? but these people are ruining it for us because, people are going to stop trusting when they pull antics like that. And what those people need is not attention. They need therapy.
Right.
They need to get help for a mental challenge that they're having, if that's what they want,
Yes. And he had her husband, he had mental illness.
Clearly.
Untreated, bipolar, a lot of stuff. And that just didn't really help him without that treatment that he needed. But let's bring it back as we're, coming up close here to the top of the hour. And so we've been talking about navigating toxic workplaces, specifically around pageantry. And a couple of themes have come through. Well, first of all, I want to thank the audience.
Yes, thank you. I'm trying to read what they're saying and concentrate, and I'm not doing it very well.
Yeah, it's hard. There's a lot going on, right?
Yeah,
beeping and all this stuff. But so that's one theme. So this is as our first live together. It's so nice to have support. So
yes, thank you. Hearts. Thank you.
Hearts. Yeah, that's theme one. Theme two: how gals. It's weird why they don't and we don't help each other. I know some of us do,
right?
But it's not universal. In fact, I know, just like even talk about toxic workplaces, toxic bosses, I would work for a man 10 times over, even if he was a little like, oh, nice dress, or a little on that offside kind of nudgy, versus a woman, because women are always trying to rip you apart. I've had the worst female bosses ever. The only bosses that have been good are the ones that have been extremely confident. All the rest, no. Mm-mm.
Wow. I think I used to feel like women were catty and petty and stuff, but in this journey I've been on with personal development, I've been meeting people like you, people that I'm completely aligned with, and know that we all share a common, I guess, theme in what we do, that we all rise together, that, and if you're doing really great things and you're having massive success, I am literally so excited for you. That to me means that it can happen for me. So I think when you think about in that way, it helps to, because, we've had the conversations about this, Larlyn, about, how hard it is to be an entrepreneur and how hard it is to get your voice out there. And and then you see these people doing what you desire to be doing, and they're having massive success, and it can pull at you a little bit, like, oh, what are they doing that I'm not doing? I mean, I am just as good as that person. But when you meet someone like us, like, we know the ride that we're on and how hard it is. So, like, if you were to one day just take off, Larlyn, and be like in the Oval Office with the president shaking hands, and I would be doing cartwheels for you. Yeah. But, and that is what I think self-love does for people, because when you're so solid within yourself, you have enough love to spread it to others and not feel that twinge of jealousy or envy or whatever people are,
And it's hard not to. I mean, like you said, jealousy is a natural human emotion, but it's also what level you want to take it. At first, it might sting. We've all heard, or maybe know somebody, or maybe we were that person. We've been passed over at work. Yeah. We're getting the promotion and we didn't. And at first, you hear it and you're like, oh, we're human. It's going to sting, but you have to get on board with it and say, okay, I can't be jealous of you. You got it. Whatever, it is what it is. Either I move on and move out, or I get behind you because you're driving the train and I don't want to be under the tracks. Right. So I'll get on the car with you and let's go and ride this together.
Mm-hmm. And then what you can learn from that person is what's really valuable, because why were they chosen over you? Like it could have been a reason that isn't really that great. Maybe they have inside, people working for them or whatever to get them to that position. But like, for the most part, you would have to take a look at what their work ethic is and really what is it about them that made them shine over you, and take that and use it. And that's where I think we we really fail as a society is we do a lot of comparisonitis when we should be looking at people we admire and taking what the things that you admire about them and embodying them ourselves and saying, well, I can do that too. I could do that too. I could do that too. And then your time's going to come. Like it's just inevitable as long as you keep a positive perspective on things and know your worth.
But you tapped into 3 key things there. 1, emotional intelligence, right? Having that self-awareness. 2, self-esteem and confidence. And if you've had people beat you down the whole time, physically, but just emotionally, it's hard to get there. And 3, resilience, right? The ability to rise and go like, done again, right? Fall down 7 times, get up 8, right? That I think Chinese proverb.
Yep.
And that's hard. We're not doing a good enough job teaching the next generation all about this stuff.
That is exactly why I'm on the mission that I'm on, because that is what I want for my children, everyone's children, to know their worth and to know that if someone else is doing it, you can do it. And to know that just because someone's, cheer people on. We have so much hate and anger around everywhere. And why? You not liking that someone else is in the position. What's that saying about a candle? You can light someone else's candle without burning out your own.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, it's a good saying because it really makes you realize that you can help other people and it's not gonna take away from you. In fact, it adds to you. So if you take your light candle and you light other candles, yours is still lit, and you can still provide for people, help and guidance and camaraderie and community. Because we all need it. We all need help. We all need help. We all need someone that's going to help us. So why are we fighting it?
Right. And your time will come, right? I mean, that's the thing. I've been learning from so many of the folks here are from TLB. They're here, they're supporting, they've been supporting each other for, however long, but I'm sort of the new addition there. And I've had great support here from Sandy, from Awaken, some of the other folks, Blessed to Crochet. She's not here tonight. And learning from them. And it's not like, oh, you have more subscribers than we do, or you have more likes and follow. Okay, yeah, you do. But nothing I can do about it other than learn. And if they're kind enough,
and ask them, how did they do it?
right? That's where, and helping their participation here is helping right now. And that's why,
heart. Thank you.
Right. Because that's my cousin, she taught me this expression a few years ago. Stand in the rain of other people. So when people are there, their rain, stand in it, and you'll catch some of their drips that fall off, right? Because they can't contain everything. And it's such a lovely idea that other people will wet you, will fuel you.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't mean, just like you said, light their candle. It doesn't mean you take away what they have. They've got so much abundance that if you're there and if you're good and you're supportive and you and you help them continue to rise up, you'll benefit. You'll get those drops.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
We're going to spread this mission.
You betcha. Oh, we're just getting started.
Oh my gosh. Just you guys wait.
Pepper's giving me faces. Hi, Snooky. Come.
Oh.
Nope. I got the growl. Probably it's like the hungry dog. Yeah, you. So maybe, like I said, we're just looking at the time and be conscious of people's time and all of that sort of stuff. Maybe we can wrap up with a couple of thoughts, you with your mindset perspective on, okay, so what do you do when you've got a toxic workplace, especially one that's pretty limited? Not a lot of people are part of the pageantry and all of that, but what advice can we give our audience here around navigating toxic workplaces?
So this might be really simple and maybe obvious, but I think when you are in an environment that is like that, because I have been, it's like, it was like slightly toxic, where I just don't align with you. And I guess it depends on what job you're doing, but I think if you have the capability of going in and being the best at what you do at your job, and limit the amount of time you spend, if possible, with the toxic folks. So don't stand at the water cooler bitching about something. Don't give in to that, because what that does is it rubs off on you. And then you don't even realize that you are being cynical, you're being negative, because that is what people are doing. So you end up being that person too. So what I have done when I didn't align with people or didn't, really agree with what they were saying or what they were doing, I distanced myself and I went in, I would do my job and I would, do the best I could at what I do. And then I would, go home. I didn't hang out in the teacher's lounge or wherever people were they were, blah, 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 blah about really like nothing important. It just was not something that I was interested in discussing. It wasn't, that's not how I spent my lunch, was to talk about students and other teachers and, just nonsense. And I really did. I separated myself because I knew it wasn't enjoyable for me. So I would eat at my desk, by myself. And I prefer my own company than that company. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. And I was actually going to go like on the advice. Good reminder, Sadie said too. We'll get to that as much as you want to distance yourself or limit your time with the negative folks that are out there, I was going to say, if you are in a toxic work culture or something, even whether it's a pageant, something is limited, as sort of experience as that, or more general in whatever office space, there's always one person. You can find one who is aligned with your values and who you are, and lean on them. There is a line though. You can, you have to share, you're going to have days and you're going to have to receive sometimes and, carry some of their weight. And there's some days where you can't hold it for them. But I think if you do have a person that you can get through things with, that you can talk about comfortably without judgment, and maybe you are that person to get in the pageant. Maybe you are the most beautiful girl there. And so you're getting picked on and needled and everything because people are jealous of your beauty. That doesn't mean you should have to go it alone. If you can find somebody,
right?
Like you said, be aware of your abundance, that you understand. And, look, I don't want to come from a position of complaining or I lack gratitude or anything, but I'm really struggling with this. Can you help me? Like, what can I do? And it's such a sensitive line. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just so beautiful that like everybody just, they're jealous, right? That's not being aware. That's being,
and I almost don't think the really pretty ones think that. I think they're more like, they're probably trying to figure out why they're not fitting in with everybody, because it seems like people girl gangs, they gang up or whatever. And she's probably just living her best life, being gorgeous and not needing, wanting that friendship, but not understanding why they're not giving it to her.
Right. Well, maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody's got something, right? Everybody. And we're going to wrap up with these couple of thoughts. That one, again, we are grateful to all of the comments and support here and patience as we learn. We haven't hit our stride yet. We got a lot of figuring out and retooling to do. And we really applaud the gals, Noella Voigt and Uma Sofia Srivastava from Miss Teen USA and Miss USA, and even the runner-up, Stephanie Skinner, that you are sticking to it in what you believe in and what you're going to stand for, and you're saying, no, that's toxic and I don't want to be a part of it. So bravo.
Yes, bravo.
And last thought, please subscribe to our channel. We are in the process of growing it. We'd love your input, your comments, your support.
Good and bad. Bring it all.
That's Cirrus. And we've got a whole bunch of videos on toxic workplaces, more coming, toxic relationships. And so with that, I'm Dr. LL and
I'm Renee V.
And we are out for the evening. So thanks so much, everyone.
Yeah,
we'll see you here next Tuesday, 7 p.m.
That's toxic.
That's toxic. That's toxic. We need the green puff of smoke I've been using in the video.
Yes.
I've been doing in my videos. It's one of the production softwares. It's like, it's green.
Where help me out. Let's do that. That's amazing.
I can't do it here, but I got to do it in the produced videos. I'll show you.
Okay. Maybe we can press the button and have it go on after every session.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it here. I can only do it on Producer. But anyway, with that, everyone, thank you so much. We'll see you again here next week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.